Hello everybody, I'm Avian and we have been going through how to make a Stardew Valley mod for Content Patcher. I've been using my garden cottage mod that I've been building currently, and today we're going to go over how to do mail and letters and things like that. The first thing I'm going to show you is the Stardew botting wiki page for mail. There's a whole page devoted to mail. They have an example of how to do a letter here. Then they go through the different letter keys and formats of what needs to be in a letter. For example, the @ sign replaces the player name with whatever name the farmer has been assigned. And there's different things like that. This section right here is the commands you need to put at the end of your letter for a conversation topic, if you're giving the farmer a gift or sending a recipe. The one we're going to use in this letter today is this %item quest, because this letter is going to assign a quest to the farmer should they choose to accept. And it actually has a depreciated section, so if you have an older mod, you can see how they compare and what might need to be updated. So this is the mail flag, which I'm not going to show in this because it's not relevant for what we're doing. There are quite a few of them, and this whole section will explain what it's for and how to use it if you need. There are, let's see, we'll skip through. This is still special mail that you can get and what the flags and things are. Here we are. This is the next section. The next thing I'm going to show you is also the custom mail formatting, because I have made my own letterhead and everything to use with my garden cottage mod. So I will also show you how to put that into your mod when you're writing a letter. Actually, that's probably the best spot to start for now. So I'm going to go ahead. We're going to full screen my folder so you can see this. I'm going to go back to my assets folder. So this, we're going to full screen this. You can open images in VS Code, which is what I'm about to do for y'all. I want it full screen. There we go. So this is when you make your letterhead, and there is an example with dimensions on the page here, right here. But when you make your letterhead, this is going to be your format. You can use your vanilla letterhead as a base for the dimensions. You can go up to 4 across. And as far as I know, you can make as many down as you need. The trick with your letterhead is that each letterhead has to be the exact square here. And then when you're putting your little box for when items and things get sent to you, they have to go in a nice little row right across the top here. Because if you put them underneath the letterhead they correspond to directly, the program still wants to take it out of this row, so you just end up with nothing there, and they just show up outside of the box, any items and stuff. So it's not going to break the game if you forget that part, but your boxes won't show up unless they're in this row together on the very first row of buttons. And then each of these is going to be assigned a number starting with 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. As opposed to this being number 7, because you start with 0. So that's the important thing to remember about your letterhead. And then when you apply it in your mail, and we'll go back over this in a little bit, but you're going to apply it at the end. And your number that corresponds to your letterhead is going to go in there. So you're going to tell it your mod, the name of your mod, what the name of your file is, and everything. That is, let me see. So When you load your stationery into your mod, you're going to have to tell it what stationery to use. So in this case, I've given it the log name of custom stationery. You're going to do action load. You're going to do target. And then you're going to tell it that this is going to come from a mod. So it's going to be mods slash the name of your mod. In my case, it's avnrpg.thegardencottage slash, and then you put letter backgrounds so that it knows what this image is supposed to be, that it's a letter background associated with your mod. The next thing you're going to do is from file, and then you're going to put the file path and your file name. So because this was in the first level of my assets folder, it's assets slash tgc underscore stationery, which is the name of my stationery. And of course, that is within a pair of brackets under the main changes section. I put it at the top here so that I wouldn't lose it. I kept all of my mail things together in a single JSON. Some people will put this in their content JSON. Other people have a special load in JSON. Put it wherever you think is best based on what works for you and where you will remember you find it should you ever need to change or update that file. The next thing we're going to do is talk about how to add in the mail. As you can see, I have a lot of mail here. We will do one together at the end. I'm just going to walk through the very basic steps to start with. It's going to go in your changes section. You're going to have your square brackets open and close. Always close your brackets at the end. And then you're going to do an action, edit data. You're going to target. This is going to target the vanilla game data. So the mail JSON in the vanilla game is located in the data folder. So it's going to be data slash mail there. Your next thing is going to be entries. And you're going to have a pair of curly brackets. For each curly bracket, again, you need to close it at the end. So this is where all your entries into the mail are going to go. And then for each letter you input in, you're going to have a mail ID that is hopefully unique to you. I have started mine out with the name of my character, followed by what the letter is. In the event that I find out for somehow, some strange reason, somebody put the exact mail ID I used, I might have to go through and change it. But I haven't done that because I'm feeling fairly confident that nobody else is going to use this particular combination so far that I have seen. I'm not at risk for that. Because I can't think of anybody else's mod that has a character with the initials FJ that would have a goose letter, for example. So this is going to be your mail ID right there. And then you're going to do that inside the quotes and then a colon and then another set of quotes, open and close on your quotes. And then you're going to put all the information for your letter. So it's going to be let's see how I put this. Either your letter content or your translation key. I do have a file for translation, so in my case, it's my translation key. And then, excuse me, and then you're going to follow that up if you're doing custom letterhead or stationery. You're going to follow that tag there, right there. And then you will have the brackets with the pound sign, followed by your letter title, which again, because I'm using a translation I18N, I have that set up with that key. So I'm going to do this right here at the top so you can kind of see what I'm doing. It's going to be 2 quotes, colon, 2 quotes. You're going to end your quotes with a comma. I have already picked out my letter ID because I referenced it in an event. So I'm going to come over here, I'm going to copy this. In the event I ever change it, I will now have to change it both in the mail and in the event I referenced it in. So I'm going to put my letter ID between the first set of quotes. I am now going to open up, I am now going to set up my translation key. So it's a set of 2 curly brackets, open and close. So I'm going to go right there in the middle. It's going to be I-1-N to tell it to go look in my translation file. This is the 8heart dot Howie. This is my scheme for my translation key is what it is, the character it applies to, or the heart level character it applies to, and that it's the letter for that event. I'm going to copy just that part. I'm going to come over here to my translation key. And again, in my translation file, it's the same quotes. Oops, what did I do? I need to be at the end. I hit enter instead of space. There we go. And a comma, so anything that comes after that. I'm going to input the name I've assigned it. And then I'm going to copy my text in. I'm going to just turn on word wrap here. View, word wrap. There we go. So, I'll get rid of all of my spare. Put them at the one that's recognized. All right, so you can see it's yelling at me because I have line breaks. In your letter code, what you use is the upwards caret or upwards triangle bracket to indicate a line break. So I'm going to do a single, bring that back up. 2 equals 2. Up. 2. Another big line break there. Double. And a single here. Space. Okay. Oh, and then I want the dash in front of the name. So if you use a single, it's a single line break. If you use a double, it's going to put a blank line in between. So for example, the single would be just like that, where it just goes to the next line. The double puts the blank line in between, kind of like that. So that is all there and saved and ready. I have the 8heart Howie.letter saved as my mail ID. I can save that and exit out. I don't need my content JSON up. So the next thing you're going to want, there's no space between this. To put in your letter background, you're going to do an open and a closed square bracket. It's going to be letter, Letter, BG for letter background. And then I'm going to copy and paste to make sure I get it correct. But it's going to be where it's from, just like we set up here. So it's going to be mods / the name of your mod / letter backgrounds. The letter background I want for Howie, I'm going to bring that back in here. I have made Louie and Howie their own thing. So Louie's is a blue because his favorite color is blue. Howie's is orange because his favorite color is orange. So because this is Howie's letter, I'm going to count to 0, 1, 2. So the letter background I want to put in this number spot is 2. And that tells it which background to pull in. Next thing is going to be on the wiki here. Oh, wrong. Yes. Be on my wiki. Here we go. I'm going to go all the way up to the front, up to the top. So yes. So we're going to do the square with the pound sign in the middle. Hashtag for you younger folks. And then we're going to do, because that tells it that it's the next thing, the translation key. I closed my translation file too soon. Let me get that back open. Default. Okay. So it's trying to autofill it for me, and that's not what we want. Howie letter dot title. So this will be the title of our letter. Why is it doing that? I'm going to turn the word wrap on to make sure I'm not. Yes, we've got the comma. Okay. Title. So this is Howie's 8 heart letter. And now I'm going to take the key here, the translation key. Now I can save and close that. We're going to type I18N colon. I'm going to paste my key. And now we have the title. So if all you have is just a letter for the farmer to receive, that is all you would do. However, because this is going to be a quest letter, I need to tell it that it needs to attach the quest to this. The same thing, if you're sending an item or you're sending money of some kind, then you would need to tell the letter to attach it. So that goes after your main letter, body of the letter, before you do your letter background. So in this case, it's going to be the right here. You can see where I've got my cursor. I'm just going to break that into a new line, and I will fix that after I type this in, but I want you all to be able to see what I'm doing. So it's %item, ITEM, space, quest, space, the name for your quest. And I'm going to go back to my planning document. This is wrong planning document. Back to my planning document. Make sure I write this down for later, just like I did with the letter. This quest ID is going to be eggs for sandwich. And now that I know I have that saved, I'm going to just copy that in. Quest, eggs for sandwich. And then you can do a $% sign. Just $% sign. Just like it has here. So quest ID, $%. And that tells it, we're attaching something. Here's what we're attaching. We're done attaching. So now I'm just going to delete the line break there and put it so that it's all nice and neat next to each other. And now that that letter is attached to the quest, so when you get the letter, it'll say, here's the quest. So the next thing, so that is just the writing and setting up your letter. The next thing we need to do is set a send conditions, which is basically a trigger action. So you can do your trigger actions in your own trigger action spot, or if you like my thing where I keep everything together, you can keep it in the same JSON. So when you set your trigger actions, and I'm going to keep this up the top so you can see what I'm doing, you're going to have its own little starting and ending curly brackets and under your changes section. So if you're going under your letters like I do, then you would close out your entries, close out your section for your mail, and then put a comma to say new section. Then start out with a pair of curly brackets. You will then do, and again, this all goes under your changes right here. So do your changes and then your brackets. And you're going to do action, edit data, target, data, in this case, / trigger actions. And the trigger action is the thing that says the condition has to be met. We are now going to do a thing. Just like before, we have entries, and we have a starting and an ending curly bracket again. Because I'm using VS Code, you can see that it's color coded. So you have your outer curly bracket, and then this is an inner curly bracket. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop down so that you can see how this would look if this was your first one. Tab over. You're going to start out with your quotes, colon, and in this case, it's going to be a third set of curly brackets ending with a comma. You see if I take the comma out, it gets mad right here because that's not closed, ending comma. And that way you know your section is not going to, it's open and closed correctly. It's not going to break anything. I'm going to put a token in for my mod ID. And this way I know my trigger action will be unique to my mod. Underscore. And then what I have been doing, just so that I can remember what is associated with which letter, is I have been using the same letter name. So it'll be my mod ID underscore Howie Glasses letter. Okay. So now your action is going to go inside of your third set of brackets. And what this is naming our trigger action. And I've named it this so that I know that this trigger action is sending this letter. You're going to need 4 sets of open and closed quotes. So it's a quote, a colon, a space, another quote, and a comma. You're going to want 4 of those. I'm just going to copy and paste. That'll be 4. You can see it's yelling at me because everything in that bracket is duplicated when it should be unique. So your first thing you're going to do is you're going to add an ID. So it's going to be ID. Do copy and paste because I've been using the same name for my letter and the same, this is just an identifier, so it does not break anything for me to use the same name. But if it shows up in a bug report, then I'll know exactly where to look for it. Your next thing is going to be a trigger. And this is the event that causes a letter to be sent. So in my case, I have all of my triggers for mail at day ending. So this is saying at the end of the day in which Howie has 8 hearts, we're going to send this letter. So that is what we're doing. You could also do day starting, and that would calculate everything at the start of the day instead of the end of the day. I keep track of things better by using day ending. Your condition is the thing that your day ending is looking for. So in this case, we are looking at, I'm just going to find, there it is. The friendship level. So it's the player friendship level. I only need. Okay, so that copied a previous trigger. So this is Howie Davis, not Father Joseph. Davis. I'm trying to remember what 8 hearts was. Sorry. Gotta do a quick bit of math here real quick. It's 250 points per heart times 8, 2,000. So I need to update that number. So what we have now told the mod is our condition is when Howie Davis has 2,000 heart points, which is equal to 8 stars, with the player, then at the end of that day, something is going to happen. And the something that's going to happen is it's going to take an action, and it's going to add mail to the mailbox. And we're going to add the mail of Howie Glass's letter. So add mail. This is in reference to the player. So the current is the current player. So you're adding mail to the current player's mailbox. So now, when that happens, the letter we set up is going to get sent to the player. Let's make sure that that is all. Yep, everything is nice and closed. I'm not seeing any yellow squiggles, so I have not duplicated anything. We have a comma ending things, so we are all good. That should now work. So I hope you all found this useful, and until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day.